A leading study into the impact of gang culture on girls has found thousands are trapped in a cycle of violence and sexual abuse. The Centre for Social Justice says victims in London are forced to live desperate lives where rape has become the norm. They found girls as young as 8 being used to carry drugs, while some as young as 10 are being sexually exploited. A warning: Charlene White's report contains upsetting accounts of gang violence.
Sexual exploitation, drugs running, gun handling and violence. For some young girls living in London, these 4 things are very much a part of everyday life.
I felt really scared and vulnerable, but then at the same time, I felt as if I was protected by these people, that they were the in thing.
Sarah, not her real name, started dating the head of a gang in London when she was 15. He was 20. His manipulation, violence and control over her marred the latter years of her teens.
I can't remember what the argument was, but he got the bleach and he poured it all in my hair. And I can just remember, like it going in my eyes. And when I went to college, I was smelling of bleach and sorry.
Eventually, one particularly harrowing moment of violence shortly after the birth of her daughter, when she was punched unconscious, that prompted her to pick up the phone and call social services for help.
Our report revealed thousands of girls being sexually exploited, and the response is yet to really even understand where these girls are, whether they're being rescued from this, and how we stop more girls from falling into this brutal underworld.
The report says 34% of young people connected with gangs say that multiple perpetrator rape is part of gang life. 31% say young women are used to set up males in rival gangs. And 50% say sex is traded in exchange for status or protection. It's impossible to know just how many girls have experienced a situation similar to that as described by our case study, quite simply because the figures don't exist. But what charities are calling for is for the government to give more support to girls to prevent them from getting into the situations in the first place, or to try and help them to get out. Sarah's phone call to her social worker probably saved her life. She now works with young girls, trying to steer them from a similar path with this very simple message.
Please do not stay in that situation, because there's 2 pathways, one of them being a jail sentence and the other one being 6 feet under.
Charlene White speaking to a victim of gang violence. Patrick Regan is the founder of the youth charity XLP, who works with young people in gangs. Thank you for coming to speak to me. You've done that job for nearly 2 decades. You've seen so many children and teenagers that have been in gangs and that have left. But even for you, is it shocking to hear that rape is now the norm?
Yeah, I think the thing I found most shocking from having done this work for a long time is the normalisation of violence. It's almost like that rape and abuse somehow become an acceptable part of a relationship.
But we've known for a while about guns being normal and weapons in general, but now sexual crimes being acceptable and girls just accepting that.
Yeah, and I think the issue is these girls are often invisible to society. Interestingly, a meeting once we had with a local authority, a colleague of mine was asking them, how do we deal with this? And of course, the clinical psychologist said, well, until I get a referral from a GP, I can't do anything. And then the police said, until they commit an offence, we can't do anything. So that's why I think the voluntary sector have a really important role to play, because they live in the communities they serve. So they know the girls and they can provide trusted role models and relationship. Relationship is always the key to break this cycle.
Do these girls feel worthless? Is that why they're getting involved, or is there another reason?
I think there's complex reasons. There's a whole host of reasons. A lot of the girls that we've been working with have had domestic violence in the family, issues around mental health, exclusion from school, persistent poverty makes you angry. And often when those issues combine, that's when we start having a big issue. But I don't know, when as a society did we allow girls to stay like this? And I just think as a society we need to have courage to do something. It seemed to me a couple of years ago human trafficking was on the agenda, and we decided as a society, we've got to stop this. And I know a lot more needs to be done in that area, but here's another big area, and as a society we need to do more to stop it.
Is it all about money? How do you begin to rescue them and to stop new girls getting into gangs?
Well, I think there's loads of work that needs to be done around early intervention, a lot of work in schools. I think some schools don't want to admit they've got a gang problem because of reputational issues. I think there are windows of opportunity. Some of the report talks about putting youth workers in A&E departments, sexual health clinics. I think there's loads more that can do, but I think it has to be long term, and we have to ask the parties to work cross-party on this. You know, we're not going to solve this in 14 months leading up to the election. It can't be used as a political football. We need these girls to have long-term sustainable relationships built into their lives.
Patrick Regan, thank you.
Thank you.
You're watching the ITV News in London. Still to come.